Barnes, it's Jones. Did you do what I told you for the rescue? But what the hell are you doing? And so? Okay. The weather. But I don't give a damn about the weather. Okay, it's okay. I get it. Yes. Thanks anyway. Bye. It's unbelievable that we have been prisoners on this island for 3 days when all we had to do was leave on this hot air balloon. You would like to ask me one more question, I imagine?
The items deposited in Walter Jones' safe clearly indicate that had he not been murdered, the marriage with Baina would have taken place, and you would all have been disinherited.
I was totally shattered to discover this. You know, Inspector, it wasn't always simple to see clearly through my grandfather's intentions. I certainly knew of a liaison between Baina and him, but I hadn't really understood its importance, I confess. I more or less understand the feeling of loneliness that must have weighed him down since my grandmother's death.
This letter that your mother wrote you gives you a very good motive for killing Walter Jones, your real father.
It might make a good motive, I grant you that. But that doesn't make me a murderer. And you know that perfectly well. Proof. Where is your proof, Inspector?
It's coming, Marco. It's coming. In the absence of a will, this letter from Edward Jones to your mother Isabella makes you the principal heir of the Jones empire.
Really, you talk rubbish, Inspector. You can't forget that our grandfather had the firm intention of disinheriting all three of us, Sonia, Billy, and me.
Why did Walter Jones keep this compromising press cutting?
In the least, one can say that my grandfather had a complex personality. I guess he kept this document to prove he was innocent in the death of his son Edward.
What drove you to give up 10% of your estate to Noland?
Despite everything, I knew how much the Jones Company owed to the talent of Hubert de Noland. I wanted to reward him for everything that he did for the family's wealth. It's as simple as that. The amount that I had planned to give him was not yet fixed. This document was only a plan. In any case, this is not yet signed. The services provided by Hubert de Noland also concern the inheritance of the estate. On this point, Noland could not get me sufficient guarantees concerning my inheritance.
Simbi Laktar. Does this name mean anything to you? I'd like to know if you saw him these last few days.
No, I don't have the honor of knowing this man. Sorry, Inspector.
The murderer would have had us all believing in Noland's suicide if he'd not overlooked this fragment of the letter which changes everything.
I have the impression that you are losing the thread of your investigation, Inspector. I want you to find my grandfather's murderer. This document is a new confession from Noland about his financial swindling to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. And it is also the proof that my grandfather was the person behind Edward Jones' murder.
Don't you find it a bit strange that the housekeeper, Simbi Laktar, could have been closed up in the technical room for 3 days without anyone noticing?
Strange? No. I am ready to bet that an individual who is a bit resourceful can hide for entire months in this tower without anyone noticing his presence.
After all, why not? Mr. Laktar? Mr. Laktar? Mr. Laktar?
I hope God makes sure that Noland is the last to die on this island.
The items deposited in Walter Jones' safe clearly indicate that had he not been murdered, the marriage with Baina would have taken place, and you would all have been disinherited.
My grandfather was a damn pervert, you can take my word for it, Norm. And frankly, it disgusted me to find out about his marriage plan. A filthy old man and a 20-year-old kid? It's nasty, don't you think? Thank God our luck is turned now, and I hope it'll stay on our side.
What can you tell me about your father and the conditions under which he died? And also, I'd love to know more about the relationship he had with your grandfather.
Sonia, Marco, and I, all three of us, think that it's our grandfather who killed our father. He really made my father suffer to death. My father was a good guy, but after Mom's death, he carried on as he could. He started drinking, but really drinking a lot, So, my grandfather didn't want to hear about him anymore. But then my father slowly started making it back. He restarted his music class, and he started caring for the three of us. He continued to drink a little, but he pulled himself together. You know what I mean, man?
This sordid letter from Isabella to her son Marco gives him a solid motive to kill Walter Jones.
But I don't understand. Why did Marco hide this from us? This is really monstrous. Plus, it concerns all three of us. Marco, Sonia, and me. Well, Walter Jones, my bastard of a grandfather, got what he deserved. He murdered my parents. Do you realize?
In the absence of a will, this letter from Edward Jones to his wife Isabella makes Marco the principal heir of the Jones empire.
Marco betrayed me. He betrayed all of us, in fact. But the death of my jerk of a grandfather puts us on a level playing field. Sonia and I are in a good position to walk off with a part of the estate, don't you think? It's nuts. Money. Always money. It really does make the world go round. And it totally rotted our family.
Why did Walter Jones keep this compromising press cutting?
Seeing what we know of my grandfather, nothing is surprising anymore, is it? He could very well have given the order to have my father killed.
The murderer would have had us all believing in Nolan's suicide if he'd not overlooked this fragment of the letter which changes everything.
Okay, it's a long drawn-out affair. My grandfather's crap goes beyond the height of this hellish tower. So from now on, nothing can surprise any of us anymore, Inspector.
Simbi Laktar. Does this name mean anything to you? I'd like to know if you saw him these last few days.
Simbad Lak what? No, Inspector. Really, it means nothing to me.
I get it.
I think it's time to start thinking about saving our skins, Inspector. The rest has become secondary, hasn't it?
The items deposited in Walter Jones' safe clearly indicate that had he not been murdered, the marriage with Baina would have taken place and the heirs would all have been deprived of the estate.
Walter Jones was a real scoundrel. You should believe me, Inspector. But he's dead. In this business, it's old man Colio and his daughter who are the losers. That's what I think. They're just unlucky. But after all, they haven't lost everything. This island and this tower remain theirs until it all disappears underwater.
This sordid letter from Isabella to her son Marco gives him a solid motive to kill Walter Jones.
I'm not really surprised to know of this horror. I understand better why Marco was the only one who interested the old man Jones. His son, born from the rape of his own daughter-in-law. What a monster. But in my view, Marco is a weakling, Inspector. I don't think he has the guts to avenge his mother. In fact, I'm trying to say that from my point of view, he doesn't exactly come across as one out to uphold the law, Inspector.
I understand. Someone took a good deal of time, it seems. Who had the time to use these condoms?
Correct match.
Martin used these condoms. Obviously, Jones organized his whole tower around himself and his wheelchair. The person who stole the remote wanted that this document not be found. The goal was clearly to prevent the marriage. This could be useful. This thing is broken. Someone tried to shred these plans, but it didn't work. And here is what is blocking the shredder. Someone took this card. Are the fingerprints I found on Simbi Laktar's cards his? These gloves correspond with the sales receipt I found in the trash can of Christina and Marco.
Correct match.
Marco must have stolen this card from Lorenzo.
Correct match.
Ah, it's you again, Inspector. So,
Do you have any idea of what I found on Simbi Laktar's keycard, Mr. Jones?
no, I don't know. But get to the point, Inspector.
Your fingerprints.
Oh, yes? It's certainly the result of a blunder by Lorenzo. He gave me this card by mistake. He took it back from me and finally gave me the right card, but that's all there is to it.
Do you know to whom these gloves might belong?
I don't know, Inspector. Really, I can't help you.
The murderer used these gloves. The flax oil from the stock of the rifle used for the murder stained the gloves. Surprising, no?
Good Lord, Inspector, you're full of it. You're digressing totally. Find a way instead for us to get out of this hellish island. You're making us lose precious time.
Sure, I see.
I'm listening, Inspector. I want you to know that you can count on my total availability. I have a lot of free time now.
This sordid letter from Isabella to her son Marco gives him a solid motive to kill Walter Jones.
I'm not surprised. A man who could pounce on a woman as fragile and defenseless as the young Baina is capable of anything. Anything at all. I don't really like Marco Jones, but I can't believe he had the guts to kill his grandfather. I myself wouldn't have had the guts.
Do you know to whom these gloves might belong?
No, I can't say.
Lorenzo, did you give this card to Marco Jones by mistake before taking it back from him to give him his own card?
Well, I wouldn't swear by it, obviously. But I don't remember anything of this at all, Inspector. I can only tell you that it's been a few days since I was able to find it. I thought I'd mislaid it.
I'll come back to see you.
What was Simbi Laktar doing on the island? Marco used Simbi Laktar's card on the evening of the murder.
I know that Marco Jones used the card of Simbi Laktar the evening of the murder.
Okay, Jack, but you can stop looking for your Simbi Laktar in the woodwork. I've got some news on him. He was hired by the airport maintenance service in Salé 10 days ago. So he's got nothing to do with the murder of the billionaire. Check the tracks of Marco Jones and keep me posted. In fact, Jack, be tactful with Marco Jones. He's an influential man. And this is no time to commit a blunder.
I have to find the criminal quickly, and I have to find the proof to arrest him. I need your assistance to clarify certain points. Do you know to whom these gloves might belong?
Oh, but of course, Jack. These are gloves that I bought in Moscow. A gift for Marco. What brought them to such a sorry state?
I have my idea about this, but I won't say anything for now. I thank you for this information, Christina. Martin Abruzzi's fingerprints are on the condom wrapper. You are the only one here to use this somewhat exotic brand, so...
You are a good policeman, Jack. Well, yes. I had a little adventure with Martin on the evening of the murder. But I beg you not to tell anything to Marco. He is really jealous, you know. Martin invited me to his room because he was having back pain so that I could give him massage. I am very good at massage, you know. Then I think things deteriorated a little, Inspector Norm. I confess.
Well, we're getting there. You see, when you want to.
I'm all yours, Inspector Norm. I mean, in a manner of speaking.
The murderer would have had us all believing in Nolan's suicide if he'd not overlooked this fragment of the letter which changes everything.
Without a doubt. I don't know anything. It's your investigation, Inspector Norm. I admit that I'm surprised that Nolan had been so close to Mom. After all, he may not have been as rotten as he seemed.
Your husband's fingerprints are on the condoms that belong to Christina.
The jerk. It's true that Martin has been scarcely interested in me since we got to this damned island. He's been flirting on the sly with that little slut Christina. I pretend not to know, but I am not fooled, Mr. Norm. And when I came back to my room to tell Martin that my grandfather was dead, I smelled something. The smell of that little slut. Yes, Mr. Norm. I suspected that Christina had come to my room.
I see.
The interview can start, Inspector.
Christina Bromsky is the only person to use this brand of Russian condoms, and they carry your prints. Let me save some time, Mr. Abruzzi, and tell me the truth at last.
I see I'm obliged to recognize it, Inspector. I did spend some of the night in my suite with Christina, but I am still free to spend the night with whoever I fancy, am I not? I would be very grateful to you if you could keep this to yourself. It doesn't concern your investigation, does it? And you understand that for my wife, well, it's very embarrassing.
I thank you for your help.
Are there single or multiple irrefutable proofs of Marco's guilt? Marco's gloves in the shredder, together with Simbi Laktar's card, make him the murderer.
The gloves and Simbi Laktar's card prove irrefutably that Marco Jones is the murderer of Walter Jones, who was his real father. Marco Jones forged a false alibi. He was not with his girlfriend Christina the evening of the murder. She was cheating on him with Martin Abruzzi, Sonia Jones's husband. Marco Jones had several reasons to kill Walter Jones.
Wonderful, Jack. Excellent work. Don't lose a minute. Grab that guy and keep him warm for me. The helicopter's having difficulties in Salé. Problem with a failed rotor that nearly cost the life of 5 refugees and my pilot. He managed to land without too much damage. We're repairing it super fast and we'll take care of you. The mechanic says it'll take at least 3 hours. If you find another way of getting out of there, go for it. Okay, I'll call you. Well done again. Go arrest the jerk.
Yes, I'll put myself to it.